winter. We're finally getting some snow. So I guess we have approval of the minutes of January 23rd.
I've got changes in item 2.
Okay,
One of them is just the word span should be spans. And it's a singular thing, okay.
is
And
this
then
first paragraph?
it's item 2, first paragraph, yes. And there's the word span. It's at the end of the
Oh,
sentence.
they now have a 20.23 acres that
They have
span,
one lot.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
spans,
that
spans
spans.
both sides
Yeah,
of Whipple.
Yeah, and then the last sentence, just Hill in Whipple, Hill needs to be capitalized.
Oh, H and Hill.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that I was both present and absent for the meeting, so I think I should probably be noted as absent.
Schrodinger's chair.
It's, when I have a template and I grab
Yeah.
names out of the tier and put them down in the knot, and sometimes instead of cutting, I just do a copy.
So we have, I was not here for the meeting. Are there any other changes?
I was not here.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. And Hebe, you were
I
an
did,
alternate,
sorry,
so we'll have
sorry.
you vote on this
I
as
second,
well.
yeah.
All those in favor? It's approved, okay. So, Scott might have other things going on tonight.
Yes, I think
He's
he's-
not here for this discussion on Kirk.
And I think he's fine with, I've talked with him, showed him what the changes or the intent of the changes, and he is quite happy with all of them. So I think he's happy to let the board figure out the exact language as long as the intent stays the same.
Okay,
So I had just a suggestion on the first sentence in number 6 grade. Says the grade of the access way curb cut shall be a -3% or greater for the first 20 feet, measured from the intersection with the road. 'Cause, I don't know, is that clear what the first 20 feet is?
I think that would be good.
So measured from the intersection with the road.
Or the edge of the road, right? Are we talking about from the center line or?
From the inter,
How about the edge of the right of way?
No, it doesn't wanna be from the edge of the right of way, it's from the edge of the pavement, isn't it? Or the edge of.
Oh, yeah,
the-
that's right.
Edge of the travel
I
surface.
don't think he would want to, yeah. Yeah, edge of the traveled surface.
I don't know if I'm the only one who sees this -3% or less, it should be. Am I the only one who
No,
sees
Rich and I
that?
have talked about it, I talked about it with Tim. I put it down as Tim presented it at the meeting, but I have a problem with that, because it does, to me,
You have a problem with less?
well, I have a problem with it or greater,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
to
either
me-
we
to
should
me-
say less, or we should figure out some other way to word it.
Yes, I was going to bring that up, but that's, I don't like the wording of that, it just,
Well, I don't think you really want greater, I don't think you want more than a -3%, because you want somebody to be landed there, you don't want them slipping
Yep.
backwards. So, I mean, why don't we just say 3%?
Well, because, I mean, how accurately do you need it to be? I mean, if it were if it wound up 4.5, would we be grumpy?
Could we
You know,
combine, I mean, we had talked before about stipulating the numbers or stipulating the outcome, which was to make sure the water doesn't flow into the, so it could be -3% or such that the water does not flow into the roadway.
Or you could say something like, the curb cut shall be a -3% or more negative for the first 20 feet.
could we, I mean, I looked at that, I was not here for the discussion, so I don't, maybe it was discussed, but, could we say that it should slope down at an angle of 3% away from the road? I mean, that would then,
Well, the problem is the 3%. Once you
Yeah.
enter the 3%, then you've gotta deal with that number.
Mhm.
But I mean, Scott has the ability to waive it, and if it ends up being 2.9%, isn't that rounded to 3? I mean,
Honestly, who's gonna measure it anyway?
yeah, and if
Well,
it's
that's what I've been
gravel, it's gonna be
working with Scott to get
3%
him
the
to
day
measure,
they do it,
and
and
he
then
has-
thereafter,
Oh,
it's
good.
gonna be different.
You know, he's
Isn't
been
there,
going out.
there's gotta be a way to just lay your cell phone on the ground and get a measure.
He's got,
Oh, yeah.
He's got laser levels on.
yeah, he's got,
Yeah, right.
you know, right now, when he has to put a culvert in, he has to be able to set it at a grade. And so he has the measuring equipment
Yeah.
and knows how to use it
Yeah,
to.
so,
Oh, no, this is good, because it says the object of the standard is to prevent stormwater from it. So
Yeah.
that's clear, so that outcome is part of the
Yep,
stipulation.
and then the last sentence is a repetition of the second sentence. So that could be deleted.
Oh, yeah, the last sentence
The last
could be
sentence is the
deleted.
exact same as the second one, yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe we want it as the last sentence,
Well-
or, but then we gotta take out the second one.
No, I think what they're talking about is the grade of the remainder of, they're talking about the driveway
Yeah,
further
yeah,
into
yeah,
the
yeah,
property.
Yep, well, I don't know, you choose where you wanna have it, but it seemed like, I kind of thought it was better to have it above the second sentence rather than the fourth sentence.
Yeah, so the fourth sentence could just be deleted.
Yep.
Yeah,
That puts things in.
so we're
the right
taking out
priority.
the object of the standard is to prevent
No,
stormwater.
No, the grade.
Oh, we're keeping that.
Yes, we're keeping that.
It's the last sentence. It's
Oh, we're
the-
taking the last sentence
Yes.
out?
Because it's
It
duplicated,
duplicates the second sentence, exactly.
the third sentence, but yes.
Oh, sorry.
Tim,
Maybe the third sentence.
Tim wanted me to ask you, David, is the likelihood of subsequent renumbering of the articles or the sub-articles in the ordinances high enough to really make it so we can only refer to Article 4 as opposed to 4.53?
You can do 4.53, there's nothing wrong with that. It just, it gives you the ability to, change the zoning without having to change the curb cut regulations if you change the, the numbering in the zoning.
Right, but I was just wondering, or he was wondering,
Yeah.
how likely is that? Is that really gonna happen?
Why do you want to?
Because he just to make it easier to understand.
'Cause
Because Article
for-
4 is pretty large,
I
it's
see.
several pages,
Okay.
and so zeroing in on 5.3 is,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, 4.53 is, it actually is,
the grade section.
it's entitled driveways.
Right.
So-
I'm wondering if we would wanna say section 4.53 driveways and other applicable sections of Article 4. I mean, would there ever be a case where there are other sections of Article 4 that one would want to rely on?
I like putting the word driveway, because that divorces it from that edit problem you wind up with things being renumbered in the future.
Yeah,
Because driveway will just still be driveway.
yeah, and you'll go back and say, well, something's not right here.
So, is that the only, well, I guess this is all about grade.
I personally would just take out, of Article 4 of the, and just say, is subject to the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Go even higher up and say, and that way, you're,
But I think you want, I mean, we have this section driveways, why wouldn't we be wanting to refer people back to that? Because,
Well,
it's, good.
what else, I mean, so, what if it's in a steep slope? So,
Yeah, which I think are 4 or 5, or the,
so, we might want to be sure that,
well, the first thing it says is driveways which do not
No.
cross ag
In this,
soils.
in the steep slope conservation district, yeah, so that's Article 4, so that would be covered. So, you know, it talks about access ways in 4.62B1. So we wanna have that apply as well, right?
4.62,
B1,
Yeah, this one refers directly to 4.53, B1
Hmm.
of 4.62.
mhm.
So we've already, the sin has already been committed.
Right, but no, but my point is, we care about what 4.62B1 says as well,
yeah.
not just 4.53.
Oh, I see.
So that's, and there might be other access ways, I mean, it's in 4.61B3, so I think the
Yeah.
omnibus about Article 4 is a good one, because we cover all those driveways in the conservation districts.
I like it.
I can
So
live
just
with
leave
that.
it, yeah, so leave it as it is.
Sorry, Tim, there are other places that he has to be worried about besides
Yeah,
four point
just,
five
you
three.
know, yeah. And then the thing about the culverts,
Where is that?
and
Oh,
just,
number 8?
just number 8, yeah, there's 2 sentences added.
I think that he might not really want that.
He said he did,
Yep.
I'm not sure he knows what he's thinking about.
well,
To have you don't, to have to push the culvert all the way back to the
I know.
edge of the right of way, that's not where the ditch line is.
I know, that's what we talked about that,
Oh, you did?
yeah.
It's also, I think, one of the reasons why he has it in there to be able to waive it. So that if he's, you know, if the right of way is, you know, the edge of the right of way is up on a bank, you know, he can say, okay, well, this won't work.
So, I apologize again, I wasn't here, but, so the intent of this is that the culvert should extend all the way to the edge of the right, extend to the edge of the right of way.
Yeah, when you think of the culvert, you know, you have the travel way going this way.
Yeah.
The culvert would be moved, you know, the culvert's running
It's
parallel
parallel.
with the travel
Oh, I
way,
see,
so
so
move the culvert,
not a culvert under the road, but a
culvert under the
Parallel.
driveway.
Yeah.
Yes,
parallel.
parallel.
I see.
I mean, are our roads 3-rod roads? I mean, 49.5-foot right of ways?
All depends.
Yeah,
Most, I mean, many of them, most of them?
We have some information, so if there is a deed that it shows what the road is, then we know what it is.
Uh-huh.
If not, it's a prescriptive right-of-way, which is basically the travel lane. And that's what the road,
Hmm.
and so, you know, I think the idea is to kind of push those a little further back from the very edge of the road.
well, I figured it was because he didn't want improvements in the town right of way, because then the question is, should he?
Who maintains them?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but,
think he was trying to offload some of the responsibility.
I mean,
I mean, you can't do that. You can say the culverts are the responsibility of the property owner, but it's in Scott's best interest to maintain certain driveway culverts or they're gonna wash out the town road instead, so,
yeah, well,
I mean,
Freddie used to come and blow out the pipes in culverts, you know, just to make sure that there was drainage.
so they would drain, cause
Yeah,
otherwise they're
yeah,
gonna take,
yeah,
they're gonna
yeah.
go right beside
I
the
don't know
culvert
if
and
Scott
take the road out.
still does
I
that.
think
Yeah,
Scott, he does,
he does.
he does.
Yeah, okay, I don't have that at my driveway, but.
They have a special machine that,
Yeah,
A
yeah.
steamer,
So-
jetter.
yeah, so I
I mean,
don't-
even they'll go around with a fire truck, one of the fire trucks,
Oh, geez, really?
and blow out, sand from some of them.
Well, I got from him that he wanted it out of the right of way.
That's, and I know for a fact that's what he asked.
Yep.
but that, of course, you know, if you push it back, then there needs to be drainage ways that go down to the ditch. And then, it seems like there's gonna have to be another culvert, because if that drains to the ditch, there's the uphill side one, and it's gonna still have to go through the driveway somehow. So I don't,
It'll have to, you know, come down the road, turn, go under the driveway and turn back.
Yeah, he was thinking that the one under the driveway would take the ditch flow.
in some cases, but in other cases, I mean, if you're
Well,
on a
the
steep
road
slope.
ditch, it's gonna take the road ditch stuff.
Well,
That's the whole reason to have the
purpose- That's the whole
culvert there.
purpose for it to be there,
Right.
driveway, culvert to be there.
He's come up through
Right, yeah,
the culvert and
yeah,
back.
yeah, well, you know,
You,
there's,
you can't do that.
well, you're gonna have ponds in some cases. You know, it'll back up
Yeah.
by the driveway.
If you think of, maybe you do a pond on the downhill side, because your negative 3% slope means that that culvert is going to be lower than the road,
Mhm.
and it could be lower than the ditch. But
Really? Could be.
I mean, I didn't have a printer to print them off, but I sent the state of New Hampshire and Vermont, standards to David. And I don't know if you happen to print them off or not.
Well, I printed, the state of New Hampshire one that you gave me is 46 pages long, so I only printed one.
Oh, it's just, okay, yeah, it's in the, there's a drawing in the appendix.
Oh, okay, I didn't. And then-
It's drawings 9 and 10, Roman numeral
In here?
9 and 10.
And then I did print off a copy of the state one, or the,
And then the other one, is that the V-Trans one?
yes.
And that one's, I think, drawings H and I or something.
Maybe you can find it.
Sure.
There's that one. So just a question on the grade. Should be a negative 3%, had you decided to say, or less, or have you?
I think it should just be negative 3%. Because again, you want it to be almost flat, so the
Yep.
car doesn't
Yep.
roll backwards or, you know, inch out into the road because it's too steep.
It gives you, if you're sliding down the driveway, it gives you a nice,
Place to slide to.
Yeah.
yes, and trust me, on that one, I know for my own experience that it is very handy. So I will just take out the ore grader and.
So this is, it's in the cut section, and so that's showing it, the distance to the ditch line culvert as being variable.
Oh.
That's why I was asking what the right-of-way is for our roads.
And he's put, and it's 20 feet.
So he's, I mean, he's putting that, does he say 20 feet?
There's 20 feet to the break.
Yeah, that's basically the
Yeah.
length of a car.
Yep. So this one's going in as a negative grade for the first variable.
Yeah,
And this is showing, you can have two grades, you can have
Right.
a grade downhill from the road, but that the total length of it is 20 feet.
Right.
And the reason it's variable is because it depends upon where
Where
you
you
set
put the
that,
culvert.
the culvert.
yeah. Negative to the culvert and then modified afterwards, yeah.
You got it, Hebe. When are you gonna become the assistant public works director here?
Second prize is 2 attempts.
Do you have a CDL?
No, that's one thing you don't wanna get if you're in administration.
Sounds like fun.
He used
I
to
don't know
pick
if
on
anyone wants-
Sean when he decided he wanted a pickup truck, telling him that he really should have one that has a plow on it. Because he's out there in the storms all the time anyway, so he
Yeah.
might as well be plowing the roads. And,
You told him that?
yeah.
That's why he's resigning, and retiring.
So, I guess the real question is, what do we wanna do with this? I mean, I feel a little bit guilty of passing some, or, you know, putting forth something that really is probably not gonna be followed a lot. If he goes 3% negative for the first 20 feet off the edge of pavement, that's, if people are coming down off a hill, they're not gonna be wanting to do that.
Well, that's something that, you know, I know that this is the
It's a
current,
negative one.
you know, it
This
does
is
cost extra
New
money to
Hampshire.
excavate,
This is Vermont.
but,
Well, and you end up with a big hole,
yeah, well, that's,
because you've got to be able to bury the culvert, you
Yep.
know, so
Right.
the culvert ends up being in a sump. And that does nobody any good, because then the sump collects all the sediment and the culvert gets plugged.
We have Lake Shoestrap every year.
Yeah. What should we do, Vicky? You're guilty of working for a town as well.
Well, I
Jim-
think the thing is that you've put language in for part of it that talks about the discretion of the road agent.
Yeah,
And that's, I mean, enforcement,
We're not getting involved, this is, you know, like a member of the planning board goes out with the road agent
Yeah.
and they figure it out.
right,
We don't have to interpret it, so, but it gives them guidance if they wanna use.
if they need it,
yeah.
Yeah,
they have to appeal to authority if they need
yeah,
it.
I don't see how he's gonna get it out of the right of way, honestly, but, in any situation, I mean, I just think of the roads. There's nothing that's flat, so you always got a hillside to cut into.
I mean, you're gonna put the culvert where, underneath the stone walls that are,
Right.
Well,
that are
because the
3
stone
feet
walls
up.
are at the edge
Vicky's
of the right of way.
favorite.
I think so.
Everybody should drive by.
Um,
Yeah, so I think we should be responsive, and we
Should
have
we
to.
provide that feedback? I mean, there's no reason we have to pass this, or agree on this tonight necessarily.
Well, I don't know, I feel like we shouldn't disagree with Scott unless we have an alternate wording that we would like to propose for him to think about. Cause
Yeah.
it's hard to come here and sit and, you know, you've been up
Right.
all night and you're there in the day and then you're here another again night, you know, so I think if we have alternate language that we would propose to him, that's what we should do. We shouldn't say we don't like what you're talking about.
Road agents and engineers live in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, you know, good
I mean, we
faith
could
compliance.
ask him if he might consider using this New Hampshire DOT drawing and,
Mm.
refer to that or something.
Well, I think he was wanting to have 3% so that he could be sure that there was gonna be a negative grade.
Yeah.
So that's not specified,
Okay, let's see.
Just says variable.
Grades of,
yeah.
grades of other drives. The algebraic difference between the two adjacent grades shall not exceed 10%.
Right, well,
That's gonna
what
really
is
keep
the
some people
algebraic
up at night.
difference? Why isn't it just a numerical
We're getting into
difference?
shaggy dog story
Why isn't it just a difference?
I bet just
That was written by an
engineer
engineer.
defines what they mean by
What is an
algebraic.
algebraic difference anyway?
It's not a term I'm familiar with.
I don't know, it's note number 3.
Is it note number?
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with these.
Yeah, right.
What is algebraic?
Maybe he meant arithmetic difference.
No, that's an engineer writing there, so.
Yeah, no, they mean what they,
Do they mean absolute value? that what the algebraic
Algebraic
difference
difference?
is?
I'm gonna say
Okay,
algebraic difference.
absolute value.
Delta is the absolute value, something, the change,
So if you have -3 to 8, then it's like
11.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why is that algebraic though?
Because
The
it deals with
absolute value.
negative numbers.
Yeah, the absolute value.
shall not exceed 10%, 10.
In algebra, the algebraic difference is the result of subtracting one quantity from another.
So there. So that's what it means.
So if you have an 8 going up at 8% and you're sloping back at 3,
The difference is
You do
11.
minus.
No.
You do minus minus?
or
No,
is it,
how
is the
that
difference?
It's doing a difference between points, not a difference between slopes.
Okay, so, no, you do minus minus, because the algebraic difference between gradients, this is the city of Lake Oswego in Oregon. Algebraic difference between two gradients +5 minus -6 equals 11,
Yeah,
where the algebraic, yeah, so,
right, it's between
that's a minus
the
minus.
two adjacent grades.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said points before.
Oh, no, it's grades.
Okay,
So yes, that's right, if it's
So you-
-3 and
-3.
8, you got 11, doesn't fly.
Right.
So it has to be less than 10.
It
That was
must-
it. That's
right,
what's written.
or should not exceed 10, that's right, that's
Right.
what the state says.
Yeah,
You know, I
so
mean,
your departing, going up the hill can't be more than 7%.
for the beginning,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
you're gonna bottom, I mean, you're gonna bottom out, I
Yeah.
think that's the
You're
problem.
gonna high center, yeah.
So, do we wanna show this to Scotty?
no.
You know,
That's not even fair for like any, we shouldn't have terms in there that people have to look up to know what that means. We guessed it, you know, but it's not, and for
I don't know, we got ChatGPT.
everybody,
Yeah, but-
Everybody can get
you
into
don't
the-
have cell
get into the
coverage
game,
everywhere
you
in
know?
town, okay? So, but, you know, if we can put that into plain language or change that so that we put it into not using a term that people have to guess, then I'm okay with that.
so all the change that would have to be to number 6 would be, the next 10 feet shall be no greater than 7%, and then you got your 10.
Well, except that he's saying it shall be -3% for the first 20 feet. So we would,
But that was saying adjacent grades.
that's everywhere.
well, this is the intersection with the road. It
Right.
doesn't mean further, you know, 100 feet down up your driveway, you can do what you wanna do.
Yeah, you
But
have
doesn't
to
that also
follow
mean that
Article 4.
if your slope is +2 and go up to an 8, that still equals your 10?
Yes.
Well,
and-
no.
But you have to have a negative slope coming off the road.
Yeah.
You can't have a positive slope coming off the road.
David, ask your question again, I wanna be sure I understand it.
Well, I was thinking if you're limiting it to, you know, the 10, if you had an 8% coming down the
Right.
first, from, you know, your curb cut's 30 feet. From the
Right.
driveway side, your first 10 feet is 8%.
Yeah.
And then the next 20 feet is 2%, probably 2%.
Right,
Minus 2%.
No,
Negative.
2%, which would give
so
you
it's 8 and then 2,
yeah, then you would still,
Then your difference is 6.
the difference would be 6, right?
But
8 minus 2.
Oh, but
would be
minus 2,
6.
okay, so it's-
Right, if it was 8 and minus 2,
2,
it'd be 8 minus 2, which would be 10, which would be, still be allowed.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
okay. I'm just trying to get,
You're right, how many minuses do we have to think about?
yeah,
first?
and let's not do that, because that just
Yeah.
really is, I'm thinking of all the contractors I know that are trying to figure that out, and
Right,
it would be,
Right,
all the phone calls I'm going to get, so what do you mean?
Yeah.
yes,
But if the grade for the next 10 feet shall be no greater than 7%, and you've got 7 minus 3, and you've got your 10.
Right.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Is that 10 in the state reg or?
No.
Yes,
That was in the New
State-
Hampshire DOT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's implied by the by the variable they allow, it's not, it's
Algebraic
implied.
difference, yeah.
If we set the 3, then the 7 falls out of it
Right.
with their
Got it.
equation.
I mean, we could do something like in areas where in a cut section, I don't know if anybody's gonna understand that, but areas where the driveways where there's a cut section, the slope shall be -3 till you get to the center line of the culvert ditch, or the culvert line.
Hmm,
And then from there on.
interesting, right.
Well, again, I guess he's
Except
wanting
that,
20 feet.
you have to have at least the 20 feet,
Yeah,
or greater if
I
the
mean,
culvert line. I
the
go
New
to
Hampshire
say-
would allow you to go 5 feet at minus,
Mhm.
and then immediately go 7%
Yeah, but
for
that.
the next 15 feet.
Yeah,
And
talk
that's
about
probably-
bottoming out
yeah.
your UPS driver, not, a lot of vehicles
Yeah.
won't be able to do that well. So that's a bad driveway.
We could just leave it.
Do we know that's a bad driveway? I mean,
Well, I mean, have you ever bottomed out?
oh, yeah, I mean, of course I
Yeah,
have.
Yeah, you've got a
But
truck.
what were the measurements when I did? I mean, that's
Yeah,
the hard
yeah.
part, I don't know the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our driveway's not even like that, and I tried to tear the front off a Subaru WRX.
Oh,
So it doesn't take much, there's a lot of
Yeah,
low-slung cars out there.
yeah,
And like you said, the UPS trucks with the long tailgate on them,
yep.
you know, but
Yeah.
they,
Well, I just think of a Prius, I mean, the Prius is.
Or the Caldwell Banker courtesy van that they let people borrow when they move.
So-
Well, do we wanna just bring the question up to Scott and say, have you thought about this perhaps, and,
Well, I think what we're saying is that, but putting 3% and then the 7% on that? Or are you talking about presenting him with the variable that,
yeah, I guess we could
Profile.
just say, we could do this.
I mean, I'm realizing now the thing that's clever about the state plan is you got negative slope away till you hit the center line of the ditch, whatever it is. And then you can begin to go up, which is exactly where you want the driveway dumping all the water
yeah,
to fall into the ditch.
Yeah,
And that's a long way of saying what we really have to figure out how to say in this document.
But if you're installing the driveway, you're installing the ditch too, right?
Well, the ditch may not have been there for the
Could be
last
there in the-
100 years.
along the road.
It
Um,
could be
Installing
there,
the culvert.
but that doesn't mean that, yeah, I mean, you can reroute it. Isn't that what
Yeah.
isn't that what he's saying,
Maybe
reroute it?
he's talking about rerouting if he wants it out of the road right away.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
you're also not talking about all driveways having a culvert. You're talking about the slope of a driveway, and there may or may not be a culvert
right,
on that driveway.
Well, if there isn't, then the ditch, the road ditch is gonna go right across the driveway.
Right, but
That's
there
the
are
whole
a
point.
lot of cases where there are no culverts.
right, and. you
that would
know,
only be if your driveway's going downhill from the road. Otherwise, there's.
Or if it's
Well, I mean,
completely
or,
level.
or your
Yeah,
drive,
but-
you're on a level stretch of road,
Okay,
your
yeah.
driveway's the highest point, and it falls away on either
Yeah.
side.
You know, if you go up, top of Breck Hill along that stretch, there's,
Yeah, yeah, if it's flat.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I think to your point, Vicky, grading access way should be a -3% to the center line of the ditch. Now, that doesn't solve the next
I
question
mean, the center
about.
line of the culvert. I think that's what we were saying, that's.
Well, okay, all right, the center line of the culvert, and the fact is, there's gonna be a powerful incentive to put the culvert in the ditch, in the center of the ditch. Just
Existing
because,
ditch.
But you're also, that 3%, you're trying to do that 20 feet, so you have space for a car.
well, okay, that's half of it, I mean,
Yeah.
because I think you definitely want it sloping away till you get to the center line of the ditch, or the center line of where the culvert's gonna be. Then we need to figure out what to say. And
Well-
that's,
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters, I mean, unless we wanna invoke the New Hampshire formula. Because we've taken care of our problem, which is having cars getting out into the road, water getting into the road, and, you know, all the debris from driveways getting into the road. So after that, it's the landowner's problem. Do we
Yeah, I mean,
really care?
he's not gonna build a driveway that every time he comes in, he scrapes the bottom of his vehicle.
You would hope they wouldn't. I mean, it's not him, most homeowners aren't building it, it's like somebody's
Right.
installing it, and they're gonna hopefully have a good person and do it
Right.
correctly, so, yeah, I mean, all we really care about is that kind of first 20 feet, really.
But what I think Rich is saying is if the ditch line is only 8 or 10 feet off the edge of
Yeah.
off the edge of the road, driving surface, that's what I think Rich is saying, is let's just have it negative to that point, and then they can do what they want. They're physically, it's highly unlikely, unless they drive huge ATVs or four-wheel drives, that they're gonna have something that pitches up steep, because
Right, well, we regulate that too.
no
There's a
delivery van
limitation.
is gonna make it up their driveway.
Yep.
and your builder will say, listen, you gotta smooth this out a little bit, and,
Yeah, I would be in favor of talking with Scott and
I think we
Tim.
should send them a revision based on what we've been talking about, instead of having to talk this out again.
Okay.
There
So-
should be, you know,
that's a
something
good
that
point.
we have this, you know, we've already cleaned that up, right? So we said 3% and took out the redundant thing, right? So there's that, or here's another way of thinking about it, and so our proposal, or a different thing for him to think about would be this, so he can choose which one he wants.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's what's fair, we're, you know, trying to be helpful instead of bringing him in here and confusing him.
Yeah.
Because then half of us probably won't remember what we said anyway, so, yeah.
So are you thinking something on the lines of the grade of the access way curb cut shall be a negative 3%?
Until you hit the
To the center of
the culvert.
From the edge of the road to the center of
Culvert,
the ditch line culvert.
yeah.
How are you going to account for driveways that don't have a culvert?
If there is no culvert, go the
Just
full 20 feet. Yeah.
So to 20 feet or
Yeah.
to the center of the culvert,
Whichever is less.
right?
Shall be negative 20 feet, negative 3%.
Which is a remarkably small amount. It's about 3/4 of an inch over that 20 feet.
Mhm.
So it's
Well, it's
Gradual.
It's pretty
3 or
gradual.
4 inches over 20 feet.
Well, no, a 3% grade is three,
It's
oh, it's,
point-
I'm
it's
sorry,
point
I'm
3
wrong.
feet, so that's 4
You're
inches.
right, okay, that
Yeah,
3 and
in 10
100,
feet.
is,
3 and 100,
Yeah.
3 feet and 100 feet, yes.
yeah, well, 3 inches and 100 inches,
No,
so.
it's pretty flat,
Yeah.
never mind, I'm just wrong, I'm sorry.
Edge of traveled way. Do we wanna use traveled way or road surface, or what do we want?
But they use traveled surface.
Traveled surfaces.
Well, I just put that in tonight, that was what I had
Okay.
written down, so that's highly changeable.
Okay, well, I think that we should have it consistent with the language of the regulation,
Yeah.
whatever, and I need to get it again.
From the edge of traveled surface to the culvert/ditch line. Or the-
Vermont said to the edge of the shoulder, which I think is more what we mean. But I don't,
So do we have to deal with an apron here?
Yes, there is an apron. Should be
And
part of
and
the,
what the slope of the apron is, or?
although it's a paved apron, they don't, I guess they're not talking, they don't have anything in there about a,
So 7 inches and 20 feet.
yeah, thank you.
That's all right,
Apron
just-
extends-
I need to be concrete, okay, otherwise I'll lose track of my anchors.
So are you,
I have a second copy of it that I'm trying to modify as we go along, so it's,
Yeah, so you
So
don't go back
what
and
have
forth
you
and
got
back and forth.
right.
So the,
are we looking at the second one
Yeah.
down below here? The grade of the axis shall be a negative for the first time. Measured from the edge of the travel surface. But the 20 feet is conflicting with where the culvert ditch line is.
For the first 20 feet measured from the edge of the traveled surface to the culvert or.
How about,
Actually,
first
for the
20
fir-
from the edge of the travel- Or to the, yeah,
I'd
how about if we
swap
take out the,
For the first,
take out the first 20 feet,
yeah,
say,
Yeah.
and then add that afterwards,
Yeah.
yes,
say
exactly.
that
yeah,
somehow if there is no, so we go that way, put in the right, and then say,
For 20 feet,
or the first one.
okay.
or, I'd just say, or 20 feet if there's no, if,
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
yeah. And then take out the 4 after the -3. Shall be -3% measured from the edge of the travel surface to the culvert ditch line, or 20 feet.
Yeah,
And I don't know it well enough, do we define travel surface, and is that different from the edge of the shoulder? And do we care? I mean, is that?
Well, the edge of the shoulder is different than the travel surface, because you don't travel on the shoulder, that's for your pedestrians, and there's usually it's looser gravel and,
Right,
you know,
and
yeah,
isn't
that's
that,
different.
You
isn't
know.
that considered the traveled surface?
so
I
Vermont,
wouldn't,
I happened to see this on the Vermont, they have the edge of the traveled way is probably where the fog line is, and then the edge of the shoulder is where they show the grading
Mhm.
for the ditch and all. And so, I don't feel strongly one way or the other, but we should say what we mean.
I mean, do we have roads
We
that
don't-
have shoulders?
well,
I mean, Route 10 certainly does, but yes.
But that's not a.
That's not our
Scott
problem,
doesn't- It's
right.
not our problem.
I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I walk on dirt roads all the time, and there's definitely,
Yeah.
you know, people don't get really close to the very edge, because there are trees there, and I'm thinking about Washburn Hill, because that's where I walk a lot.
Yeah,
They just call it the area suitable, accessible for travel, is the traveled surface,
Well, we could say maintained surface,
which would include the
would
shoulder,
include both.
include the
So-
shoulders.
yeah,
So maintained surface,
yeah, and again, Scott's got the ability to
right?
Mhm.
wiggle.
Because it's clear what is maintained surface and what isn't, and I think it's more variable, like, well, where is the traveled way compared to the shoulder?
And do we wanna change that 8% to 7%? Because the geniuses at the New Hampshire DOT
Yeah, yeah,
said,
yeah. Shouldn't be more than 10.
Now, the question I have is, so we've defined the -3 to where the culvert is.
Yep.
And then the next 20 feet shall be no greater than 7%.
Yeah,
That doesn't, may not add up to your 30 feet of the curb cut. You're trying to account for, the curb cut covers 30 feet.
No, 20 feet.
No, 30 feet, because you had first, 20 feet is, the original one, first 20 feet was whatever percentage.
Yep.
The next 10,
Oh, he's doing 30 feet, yeah.
so it's a 30-foot,
Right, so it would be easy, so if you had if your culvert was 5 feet from the edge, and then the next 10 feet would get you up to 15 feet. And that would be legal by these words.
but you're,
And that's not necessarily what we're asking.
right, because you're trying to level things out coming down.
Yes, yeah.
And
No,
so
I
you-
understand completely, I'm just saying that I could make a 15-foot piece here and then have it be a mountain.
Yep.
It's almost as if,
Well, the rest of it's governed by like 11%, right?
Mhm.
Except you can go up to 14% with special exception,
Right.
so we have standards for the
Mhm.
beyond.
do we, so, in the top definition, it came out to 30 feet, because we said 20 feet at -3, and then 10 more feet.
Mhm.
Do we feel that 30 feet number is important?
Well, when you look at what I got highlighted here.
Yes.
yeah.
30 feet is important.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Measured from-
So maybe what that's, good catch. So maybe what we say is the remainder of the curb cut up to 30 feet.
There they are with the traveled portion, not the maintained portion.
Well,
So
then
maybe
we should use that language.
We should maybe change that curb cut definition
Well.
also, be maintained.
Oh.
Well, I mean, cause how,
It-
so if there's a person who brings their wheels into what isn't usually traveled, is that suddenly now the traveled portion?
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
And so the maintained portion of the road is the part that gets plowed and like
Yeah.
that. And so like where the snowbanks are.
the question is maintained, does that mean also cutting trees and brush? Cause that's not the traveled portion.
Well, I think the maintained portion, where the snowbank winds up is, that feels at the moment like a good definition to me.
I think traveled portion is probably clearer,
Okay,
Okay.
we need to change the other one too then.
yeah.
It's not clear where that is, but,
Neither of them are clear.
Scotty
But I
knows
don't
it
think
when he
it's,
sees it.
I don't think it's clear.
well, one is like the town maintains it, the other one is where people drive,
Yeah.
so.
Is that what it's set up above?
Traveled surface is
Oh, well, it
what,
says travel portion of the
Okay.
road.
you know,
All
it
right,
says
thank you.
traveled portion in the definition, that's
All
what
right.
we should use.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's just stay consistent.
Yeah.
And that's been there since 2005, I guess,
Yeah.
that curb definition.
Yes. Nothing has changed since 2005.
Travel portion for 20 feet, if there's.
So.
And I
when
should
we
just
grade-
change this
when
up
we-
here just to, if we don't go back and use the second one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how about if we,
Can we just say
no,
that,
neither Vermont nor New Hampshire go beyond 20 feet. I mean, he wants 30 feet. How about if we just change it to the next, rather than the next 15 feet, or the next 10 feet, call it 15, and that way it's likely that it's gonna end up being 25 feet or so.
Then you need to go back up and change the definition of curb cut to
Yeah,
The curb cut.
so I was gonna,
states 30 feet.
let me try this
Well,
out.
there's just a little bit of area that might be
Well,
gray.
Try
where
this-
Why
try
wouldn't we
this
just
way.
say that the remainder
Yeah.
of the curb cut can
Of-
be
Yeah,
at the
of the access
discretion
way.
of the builder or the homeowner?
Or a road agent.
well, I mean,
What were you
so
gonna say,
I was gonna say.
I wouldn't leave
that-
it to the discretion of a homeowner.
Okay, so that, maybe we say that, but what I was gonna say is the grade for the next, for the remainder of the curb cut, 30 feet, shall be no greater than 7%.
There you go.
There you go.
And then that comports with the definition of a curb cut as being the
Yeah.
first 30 feet.
Yep.
And that would be completely acceptable.
The grade for the remainder of the curb cut.
So take out next 10 feet and just say remainder of the curb cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just seems arbitrary though, you know.
All rules are arbitrary.
I know, but, I mean, what are they gonna do for the remainder of the curb cut, you know, they're just gonna try and make it work for their location of their house and the steepness
Yeah.
of the driveway.
Well, sure, but, and
All we care about is those two
does it slope away from
segments.
the road?
It's right, that's all we care
Yes,
about,
right.
actually, and that it doesn't come into,
Yeah.
Right.
So
And-
they'll transition to 11%. You said 11 is
I
our
think
maximum.
11 is the,
Yeah.
is the max,
Yeah.
unless they get a special exception.
Yep.
oh, 11 is the maximum.
Yeah, that's in Article 4, under
Stevens.
4.53.
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
So why don't we just say the remainder can be no greater than 11%?
Because I think it'd be good to
They're,
have it.
they're
set.
wanting a relatively level landing pad.
Yeah.
I think they're
It's-
thinking they
You're
want
supposed
it.
to come in gradually.
Either, you know, if you're coming up out of a hole, you wanna have an area to stop, that you're not gonna be sliding backwards. Same thing if you're coming down a slope, you want an area that's fairly flat, that you'll be able to get onto the road if you have to stop for traffic. So,
But we have that 20 feet there, that's 7%. It's just the remainder to 30 feet that we're talking about.
Yeah, Scott is wanting 30 feet in
Well, the
his.
regs say that.
And the reg says that,
Reg-
yeah.
regular. You
But
should-
we
Oh.
already said that the length of a car is 20 feet, so there we have that space at 7% grade.
3%.
Or,
Minus.
well,
No, because the.
no,
the-
it would be at 7.
The culvert ditch line could be at 5 feet,
Okay, it could also
Okay,
be
okay.
at 3 feet.
it could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So we're saying then, what the remainder needs to be no greater than 7.
the entire remainder of the 30 feet.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what
So
that,
why does it need to be that long?
so that it's a
too?
mellow landing
Right.
space.
So I don't think this gets at what Scotty wants, because it allows the culvert to be too close to the road.
Well,
Not
he
en-
wants it out of there.
It's not enough space at the -3 for him. If the culvert's less than 20 feet from the road.
Well,
But it's not clear that that means the culvert has to be rerouted, and he hasn't made that clear in what he's written. So it forces him to rewrite this.
Well, he may wanna just say, forget that, and go with what I wanted originally. So
Mhm.
what we're doing is saying,
we're giving them
we
alternative
thought
language.
about, we looked at these standards, this is what we came up with, looking at what the states had, and, you know, you choose what you want. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think we're here to make him happy and feel better.
if we go back down to the drainage, a culvert shall be placed outside the road right of way.
now this is new
That's-
language?
What does
That
that
is new
mean?
language.
What does that mean? What is the road right of way bordered by? What is-
It's going to vary by road, but it's basically outside of his area that he maintains.
There's usually a specified distance from the center line of the road, and different roads have different.
Well, either 2 or 3 rods, and it's usually essentially the distance between the two stone walls that are on either side.
But
But
that's
is that the 10 feet that we hear about?
The problem is
Is
that,
that the right of way?
well, the right of way, you have, there are some roads where the town has a deeded right of way, where it says, in the property deed, the road is here. For a majority of the dirt roads in town, there is no deeded right of way, it's a prescriptive right of way, which is where, basically saying, the road is where it is where it is.
And
Does
they,
it include the ditches on the other side?
It would include the ditches on either side. But,
So
So-
what he's saying is that you have to dig your own ditches outside, by saying they have to be
Yes.
outside the right of way, that's like saying you have to put your own ditches to deal with this
yes,
slope that we've
Right.
mandated.
So,
Yep.
you know.
but we don't want that, I mean,
But
we don't
that's-
want them taking out every stone wall every time.
well, I guess that's, I
Somebody-
think, why the road agent, we have the language for the road agent may waive this requirement at their discretion, because, he's gonna look at that and say, oh, this is a stone wall, no, we don't wanna take that out. And so we can waive that and it will work here.
So, I mean, I think,
Okay.
It gives him the ability to look at the situation and say,
Yeah.
yeah, this doesn't work, I get it, you can move it in.
Okay, it seems reasonable.
so, but I'm gonna put up a counterexample. I think of my property and the property of the Luckland Lodge, right down on Route 10. Route 10 is obviously built up a little bit, and it slopes off, and there is very clearly a ditch that runs, and there's a culvert that runs under the road and all. But that's 3 feet
Right.
from the
Yeah,
road.
Yeah, most.
At most.
Yeah.
And,
It's right there.
and that's well within the right of way. The right of way it's a state road, it's not the same, but, I mean, that's likely very typical of roads in Lyme. And if you said, you're putting in a new driveway, and there's a very nice ditch that runs right down, and it's 3 or 4 feet from the road, you've gotta put that
You gotta
10
put a
feet.
45, you gotta turn 45 degrees, excavate that down, it's just not, it's not good engineering,
It
it's
doesn't
not.
sound like a good idea.
Well,
Good hydraulics.
but it's going to create a pool of water there, this negative angle, that's what the whole idea was. So it's a necessary thing,
What,
is it not?
No, because the driveway should have a ditch line on one side or the other anyways, if it's coming down a hill. And so that driveway ditch line should be intercepted by the town's road ditch.
so
And
when
the
you
water
talk,
should go
when
into
you
it.
talk about a ditch line, you're saying the driveway comes down the hill, the water should shed off one side or the other
Right,
and run down the side, which
And-
then should hit the town's ditch.
the town's ditch,
Okay,
yeah,
so that's what you mean by ditch line,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, so if there is that's the way the driveway would be installed, if it's a new driveway.
Yeah.
It would have the ditch line, and it would go all the way to the town's ditch line, and it
Right.
would have,
But your
it
regulations
would
don't
have
say it
this,
has to have a
it
ditch
would have
line.
this culvert at 10 feet, which would go underneath.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just gonna keep, he's rendering an interruption in his,
In his-
ditch line.
Exactly, he is.
I'm
I'm assuming he thought of that.
Which would, work well for slowing the water down, so it's not washing out the ditches.
Well, no, it's gonna wash out the road instead.
Well, no, it'll go up and into the culvert and come back.
It might, or it might
Maybe.
wanna just go straight if there's.
Water
depending on
tends
whether
to
it's a
do that,
hill.
yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that Scott wants people to relocate his ditch line to put a culvert in.
Well, they wouldn't,
For
this would be a
driveway.
new
He
driveway,
seemed to-
this would
he
be a
seemed
new
to want
driveway.
that.
Yeah, he did, that was,
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think,
Clear.
So it wouldn't be
Then he needs to,
relocated.
then he needs to have a culvert too. Is he wanting two culverts there?
Why does he need to have a culvert?
Because his ditch line is going to be interrupted. It's gonna be
That's what I was saying about.
going away
yeah,
from the road further.
it's-
you know, see,
Right.
what's gonna happen, what he's gonna have it set up is, you know, the ditch comes down and not stop at the driveway and go in. Above the driveway, it's gonna start curving into where the culvert is. And then the same
Oh
thing,
my goodness.
it's gonna come through the culvert and then curve back out, you know, so where the driveway is, it's gonna be wider than where the culvert is. You know, between the driveway, the road and the culvert,
Yeah.
that area is going to be wider,
Wow.
so that the water just sweeps in and,
I've never seen anything like that.
okay, again, that's what I was, but you may wanna
It might be
talk
new
to Scott
science.
again.
And again, I don't think we're wanting to promote that where we have, you know, stone walls on roads and stuff like that. And, I mean, he may think that's great, but we don't. I think many people in the planning board are not
You
gonna.
need, if you had an existing stone wall, there'd be at least 3 holes in it after they ran the ditch in, and then the driveway, and then the ditch out. So, it's not preferred.
So it sounds like we know where we are. It might be productive for Rich, because you have the clearest ideas
Yeah.
about the objections to this.
To meet with him and
You and
Tim.
Scott sit down, because Scott doesn't need to come in and,
And Tim possibly
And Faith.
too.
Yeah, I think I'd rather
Yeah.
meet with Tim and Scott.
yeah,
Yeah,
and work this out, and then.
but I like this, I think I should
Give him that.
propose this language here.
Yep, well, give them it and say,
And-
this is what we thought was
Right.
alternate to yours.
And then, yeah,
And then I'm not quite sure how this culvert would work. Again, didn't read this ahead. Does he specify sizes for culverts?
Yes.
Okay. So, if this is coming down,
yeah, he's
Pinnacle.
got a minimum of 12 inch.
is that enough on Pinnacle Hill?
Well, its culvert
No.
shall be new at least 12
At
inches in
least.
diameter and larger if necessary, as determined by the road agent.
There we go, good.
Yeah.
Because the Mova Hills have a considerably larger than 12 inches. It's like
Okay.
maybe 3 feet.
Okay, well, I'm happy to, when
Is
Tim
that
gets
all
his
right?
eyes back,
Is that all right to push that off onto you?
yeah,
Because I think having Scott, he just doesn't need to.
be embarrassed by it.
And-
He'll feel threatened, yeah. That's fine.
And I'll prepare him to just say, you know, just to clear, you know,
Those
we're trying to
those
clarify.
guys in the planning board, they
Yeah.
understand what you're talking about.
Such jerks.
Just, yeah, I'll let him know that, you know, you just wanna make sure that.
There's a minor tweak and we just had a question.
Yep.
Okay, what else we have? We have, the master plan housing chapter discussions. So I understand Tim has written something up.
Yes, I will pass there's,
And-
you had written up yours.
I wrote
And
up
so
something.
both of them are included in Rich's is the first 2 pages and then Tim's is the 3rd page.
So I haven't seen what Tim did. It was nice to have the video, although it's hard to see, you can't see the slides on
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
YouTube
some
video, but
technical issues and I don't know what.
I kind of went through that again and just kind of came up with bullets and maybe it's too long. I was hoping for like 3 or 4 or 5.
Well, I mean, I think,
But I'm thinking bullets might be a nice way to put these and we have 2 others that need to get written up. It looks like Tim sort of did what I did, you know, just,
Mhm.
Yep.
So I don't know that we need to waste our time or spend our time looking at these now.
Is it worth assigning homework?
Who are the other two?
was in
So
the
I'm
letter.
hoping
It was-
Nat might be able to write up.
Well, I did,
sandwich. Oh,
I
okay.
just didn't, I
You
didn't know I was, I
distribute it.
thought I was gonna be presenting it, but I, yeah, I can convert it into something you wanted.
Or,
That'd be great.
yeah, I mean, do you feel comfortable doing that, or we can also start with what you got, if you want?
No, I'm perfectly, I mean, my penmanship is not that great. I don't think you'd really be that happy.
Okay.
trying
He's
to
an old,
decide.
That's right,
old
you're a
school
doctor.
Geez, you come to the meeting with a computer, this is all a facade, huh?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I don't type, I'm in that generation.
Oh, man, that was the best class I ever took at the Hartford VOTAC when I was about 28 years old.
space, that space.
And then
There was.
you asked.
Right, Rogers, what's her name? Margaret,
The Margaret Pratt
Margaret Pratt,
facility.
right, Jamie Rogers. I could certainly write up some points there.
Just, yeah, like 10 bullet points. or
Yeah,
something.
because I think it'd be nice to just be able to come back to this at some point, you know?
Right.
And,
Be thoughtful and not be reading things in front of each other, that's not a good use of our time.
right, so we could, if you want to get those to David.
Yep.
Is it possible to do it between now and our next meeting, and then,
Sure, yep.
if David can get those out,
Yep.
you know, Monday or something of the week of our meeting, and we'll have a chance to take a look at it. And you've got a head start on two of them.
That's great.
And if people want those electronically, I'll happy to send them along.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
great. So then zoning ordinance 2026 updates.
That was the Francis Bowles.
Right. And I guess before we get into that, I had a question in terms of the petitioned amendment that
Yes.
you had.
Right.
Did you actually go back to the petition signers to
I
be
was
able to
not-
withdraw that?
I was not gonna be able to catch up with some of them, and my
Uh-huh.
understanding was if I didn't have them all, it wasn't gonna work, so they're
Okay.
out of town. So that will be on the ballot,
Uh-huh.
and
Ballots have been printed, they are on the ballot.
that present tense now.
Yes. They're still at the printer, but they have been printed.
So I haven't been involved in this, in town meeting that long to understand, you know, with COVID and whatnot, little town meeting would normally be a place that these are discussed.
Yep.
And do I understand that there might not be a little town meeting this year?
There will not be a little town meeting. I think Judy Russell is going to host like a Zoom meeting with the candidates if they wish to speak. But I have not.
Why not a little town meeting, do you know what the?
Select board decided it wasn't worth the effort.
Right. That's exactly right. They met, they said it's a lot of work, because they gotta set up a little town meeting, then they gotta break it down, then they have the school district meeting, then they gotta break that down, and then, and so, they didn't think there was enough
Yeah.
benefit there.
Yeah,
That's kind of unfortunate.
I
Yeah.
have a different opinion,
Yeah.
but.
Now, little town I've never been to, well, I mean,
Oh,
I've been
you
to
should
one
go. It's
years
a
ago,
hoot.
but,
Little town meeting.
It
that
only
each
discussed the
candidate-
things
no,
that-
No, they go through the whole thing, and every candidate gets up and says their spiel, please vote for me.
right.
And then they go through all the warrant articles and, you know, and talk about them. And people get educated, because you know, and
As I said,
and then you talk about them again at town meeting.
Well,
Oh, I
petition
thought they
board-
only did the ones that you vote on by Australian ballot.
no.
I mean, they're,
So they talk about the ones that we
Yeah, I
decided.
mean, you can ask questions about the town budget, you can ask all kinds of things.
It's a little
very
more
informative.
informal
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of too bad. So I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is it feels to me, so you say this has been printed up. What does it say about the planning board? Does it say the planning board
The planning
Does
board
not
does
support.
is not
not-
supporting.
Okay,
You know, I think it might be worth, since you don't want it to pass,
Right,
have some little slips of paper that say, you know, this was, you know, in error or something, please vote no on whatever number it is. And signed by whoever, you or
probably
some-
me, right, yeah.
Because, you know, it was a mistake.
that would be awesome if you
Yeah.
could
Well, I'll
do
be
it.
against it.
Right, so well, actually, I will say a little more and say, we're gonna come back with a better.
Yes.
A better amendment that will actually address the problem
And,
next year.
and just have a little, you know,
Right.
piece of paper that everybody
Yep.
who is registered, as they
And-
register, they can see this.
Well, except that's electioneering,
Yeah.
Kevin's gonna.
Oh, I
You
see.
have to be
Yeah, we
outside,
probably-
you
yeah,
have to
we
be
probably-
outside of the
It's,
building.
you know, the planning
So,
board
I mean,
coming out with a
maybe
statement is not
maybe
A
allowed.
note on the list.
Oh,
will-
maybe on the
yeah,
list, or
right.
yes, yes, I got you.
And so I can probably say 3 sentences at the little town meeting as well. Typically,
There is
also
no
at
little
little
town.
town meeting, anybody proposing an amendment,
Mhm.
proposing a warrant article that's on the ballot, this is their chance to say their
Uh-huh.
say.
Yep.
And so,
Well, I think that would
so,
be
yes,
helpful and
I will, I'll take that on since I.
eliminate some of the
since I
confusion
started
that
it. Yep,
may happen since we're not really having little town meeting.
right,
Right.
Okay.
yep.
So,
Well, we would have already had it. Doesn't it usually happen like
No, it's the Tuesday before.
Yeah.
Tuesday
Town
before, so
meeting.
it's the first Tuesday
Tuesday,
of
the
Yeah.
first Tuesday, and then the school is the
Thursday.
Thursday, and then the
First
following
Tuesday.
Tuesday is town meeting.
second Tuesday.
so who's running for reelection? Is it just Vicky and myself?
Yeah.
I signed up.
And I signed up. Okay. Is that all we have?
That's all I know of.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. And do we know when Judy's thing is gonna be? Is
I
it-
do not know, and I'm not gonna guarantee it's gonna happen, I just don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
She's pretty good at
Yeah.
I'm
announcing
fairly certain
stuff.
it will happen. My
Yeah.
guess is it would be 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the first Tuesday.
Oh,
7
really?
PM,
Instead of
yeah.
town.
Not on
Yeah.
a Sunday?
Like,
or something like
I'm
that?
not part of those discussions, so I don't know.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no definitive knowledge, but that's what she's done in the past. and-
Okay,
I would assume then that, you know, she is very good about.
yeah. I just need to read those really long emails that
Yeah.
sometimes come out of the library. Okay. So, I guess the last thing on our agenda is, yeah, Frank's comments. And, I don't know what I did.
Well, I think that Frank's comments and the stuff about housing kind of dovetail
Mhm.
in many ways, because it's gonna, when we go through all of this stuff, we're gonna come up with some recommendations to modify.
Well, we have a lot of little things too, not just Frank's, so.
But-
Because, David, did you have a list of some of those, is that correct?
I have, I've been starting a list, I get a lot of them up in my head that I need to
Right on.
write down.
But
you know.
all I'm saying is it seems like we need a whole session to talk about them.
Right.
Rather than
Yeah,
8:30.
well, it'd be nice to have,
Yeah.
the full list, and we have this from Frank though.
Yeah.
And then did they wanna meet with us? Did we wanna get together
Well, I
with the
think,
zoning
you know,
board, or-
if you look at what, you know, come up with a list of changes, or not change, but items that you wanna look at. Not necessarily say we're going to change it, but, you know, here's the things we wanna look at, and then bring zoning board in, to talk about it.
Mhm.
Big problem right now is all the members, other than Bill Malcolm, are very new. And so they haven't hit these.
Well, it doesn't matter, I mean, it's good
so-
for them to understand and to be able to help us.
Yeah. So, but I think.
But some of them may not have even really had a chance to go, to even had a case to
Right,
decide
you know,
to actually have to open the zoning
I know
ordinance and
I keep
say.
hammering the ag soil one they've never, you know, Bill Malcolm's the only one who's had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And so, I think that that's very easily solved, but I'm expressing my ignorance, I guess, by saying that. But we won't go into it tonight.
Fresh set of eyes is always good.
Yeah. And I have clear knowledge of why it got incredibly sticky. I would have to go do some homework to figure it out. Oh, David, what did happen with Tom Toner?
He was approved,
Good, all right.
so he's now on the zoning board of adjustment.
So,
They get all the interesting people. All the boring people come here.
the wonks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that that's a good idea, that we should, for our next meeting, David, if you could put some of your unofficial items on a list. It's gonna be on the 27th.
Yes, because I have a zoning board meeting on the 26th.
Oh,
So,
that's
yes.
right, you do.
Yep, I had to change it because I couldn't get the full board.
Huh.
So do we want, I think we should probably have a chance to talk about these items amongst ourselves and then
Oh, yeah.
invite the
Yeah.
zoning board.
And then, you know, they may have additional items, but at least have, you know,
Yeah. Do you want to reach out to Bill and say, tell him that this is what we're doing, and if he has some items on it?
yeah, I will, I
that he
tend
wants
to,
clarification?
keep the board informed
Yeah.
during, at every meeting anyway, so
Yeah.
on the 26th, I will
Yeah.
just tell the whole board that, you know, that,
Yeah.
you know, you are taking this on and.
Okay, well, that sounds good.
Did you happen to look at what David Kahn sent around?
Oh, good
Yes,
point.
I was gonna bring that up as.
Thank you. Yes,
My thought is, it's all about enforcement, baby.
What did he send around? I didn't-
I forwarded
some
an email
bills
from.
that are in the legislature.
They're the legislature is proposing some modifications so that they can override any local zoning restrictions.
Right.
So the
particular
minimum lot size is a huge one.
Yeah.
Yep,
I did not understand that, when they say the minimum lot size shall be determined by the septic rules or something,
Right.
what in the world does that mean?
right now.
Because you have to have your building, you have to have your driveway, you've got to have,
You have to have a leach field that's up to the number of gallons per,
Yeah, they've got
Day that-
soil-based lot sizes that the state has.
for leach fields based upon how many bedrooms you have.
so they're just saying the worst case scenario, you need X number of
Nothing's
square
bigger
feet
than, like,
for.
Nothing's bigger than like 2.5 acres, I think.
They would require up to 2.5 acres?
Yeah.
For a septic system? Or
For
a
a,
single
for a,
lot
for
zone?
a, for a lot size, for a house.
I think it's only 2 acres.
Is it,
Well,
I think it's 2.5.
2.5,
I think it's a little
okay.
bit bigger because, yeah.
I was thinking this was gonna result in like 1/4 acre lots.
so.
It would if you had water and sewer.
Yeah.
That's
Or-
what that article says.
Right.
Yeah.
With water and sewer, that's clearly solved.
22,000 square feet, I think, that's like half an acre.
Half an acre, yeah.
I went to a workshop where they said that you surely can get a septic system on, I think they said 1/6 of an acre. So, I mean, you've gotta build a house, you've gotta build these other things, but that, to have a minimum lot size bigger than that,
Oh, it depends on the soils.
Yeah,
You
oh,
need
sure
to
it
have
does. Of course it
75
does.
feet setback, you know, for your well, and then it depends on the soils, how big your leach field is gonna be.
sure.
So you can't like just say that number, because it's so soil dependent.
Well, I think, you know, I guess I have said it in earlier meetings, but it's circular logic for us to say, well, in some soil types, it's really, really hard to get a leach field, you know, big, and so we're just gonna say 3 acres or 1 acre in town or something like that. I think a better way to rule would be to say, show me your state-approved septic system. Show me how you're gonna fit everything else onto that lot. And then that's a sensible size.
Well, as a resident of the village where houses are packed together, I feel like we need to have at least an acre. Because, you know, I don't wanna find out, oh, I guess that wasn't a good separation distance or whatever. Or, you know, so, or that, you know, my well's been contaminated, because of what my neighbor does. So I feel like it's great if you have a water system to fall back on, but we don't. And,
I think it's also problematic to suggest that in order to subdivide into a smaller lot, you have to have a fully approved state septic design and, you know, building plan. People wanna subdivide lots well in advance of having concrete plans for
no, but you
building.
need to, for anything less than 5 acres, you need to have a state-approved system.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
You do,
Yeah.
that's currently the law,
Okay,
yeah. And,
because I know you can, I mean, 5 acres is more than
Yeah.
enough for any.
and when you sell a property that's on, you know, water body, you need to have a state-approved system also. So even if you don't have it now, you need to design it and.
But if you have
so-
10 acres and you wanted to subdivide?
If you had 10 acres and you wanted to subdivide into 2 5-acre lots,
Yeah.
if they both were 5 acres or above, you're okay.
Yeah.
But Vicki, I wanna go back to what you said, that,
Mhm.
you know, in fact, a third of the parcels in the Lyme Common District are non-conforming. They're under an acre, in just the lot size. And so, I share your concern, how are you gonna make sure that their septic system's not getting into my water? But to say they've gotta be an acre is, I mean, it kind of denies the traditional development patterns that happen in town,
Mhm.
because those lots have been there for a long time. And so, that's a
Well, the
problem.
traditional development pattern on Market Street is like kind of what you see now, okay? And not everybody has a smaller than an acre lot. And some people have really big lots and nobody's got a problem, so I'm all for density in the downtown district, but I also feel like, what are you gonna do when your well goes bad? And
Yeah, that's when a community all of a sudden discovers they have a problem,
Well,
and then they're
Well,
looking to
Lyme downtown
get
has
a
got,
municipal
you know,
system.
backs
which
up on
is-
wetlands and it's got streams running through it, so it's a double problem.
Yeah.
You can't,
well, it's the water quality, the groundwater quality there, yeah.
exactly.
And, yeah, and then they broke up the water system, so nobody's really, I guess for the commercial, you know, the school has to be tested and the inns have to be tested and the restaurants have to be tested. But for other people,
Mhm.
they don't,
Hmm.
so. But, so going to 1/6, just because you can design a septic system and put a house and a driveway and a well on that, I don't
Oh,
buy
I
into
don't
that
think-
necessarily as a
Rich was
good
just
plan.
saying that the boundary is a lot lower than what we're thinking about, which is possible engineering. You know, I bet you could on the, you know, on Shoestrap Road where the soccer field is, it's all sand. So you could probably do 1/6
Mhm.
right there, cause it
Yep.
just perk right through.
Mhm.
Well, it doesn't mean that the groundwater is protected, I mean, depending upon what you put down your drain, but, cause you don't get, and our subdivision regulations have restrictions, for septic systems not being able to be placed on lots with highly permeable soil without putting in, you know, some sort of additional soil additive or, you know, different
They
soil.
have clay cap,
No, it's not a clay cap, it's something to make it go slower.
Mm.
So you'd have to amend that native soil.
Hmm.
That's just in our regulations, so.
Would the state regulations cover that? Do you know if the state regulations would cover that?
I don't think they do.
Isn't there a maximum perk rate that,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
is
that-
that
so
it
that's-
has-
I think
has to
that- but
be
the state-
amended.
yeah, doesn't allow for
Oh,
systems
oh,
to
you mean
be
for the,
or placed in an area that perks
right,
too
well,
good. I
right,
mean,
it has to be amended.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fishers are gonna hit that.
Yep.
They're on a sandy deposit.
So that was one of the bills. There was another bill with about ADUs, I think, was it allowing them to be separate from a separate structure?
Yeah, which we allow.
Which we allow, but was there one that would allow two ADUs? We only allow one
They
ADU.
were
right?
talking
There's
about,
another one that,
there's another one that was talking about a second ADU.
that
Yeah.
wasn't in that link, but it was different, yeah.
And was one of them perhaps, not requiring or not allowing, communities to deny based on parking
Right, it was
availability?
taking away the ability, so if you,
We can't mandate a number of parking spaces that.
Oh, mixed-use development by right,
There we are, yes.
that
Yeah.
was one that's being proposed.
Which,
HB 382, another mandate removes the authority of municipalities to regulate mandatory on-site parking requirements.
right,
I don't think we have urban area here. So the mixed-use development by right, the bill would only apply to commercial districts located in urban areas as determined by the US Census.
Right, I think there are only 18.
So we're not,
not an
that's not
urban
gonna,
area.
and it would only apply to lots served by municipal water and sewer lines.
yeah.
So we're not affected by that.
And then there's one that mandates manufactured housing by right in residentially zoned areas, and we don't differentiate between manufactured and stick-built.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that because it's allowed by right.
A very interesting conversation on the, whatever the statewide planning board list where people are like, you would never allow manufactured housing next to all of those lovely mansions, such and such a place. It was very, very snooty about
It was sort of
manufactured.
snooty, wasn't it?
Very impressed at, oh, okay, who are we serving here?
I like that little manufactured house.
Yes.
So how,
It's cheap and keeps me
it
dry.
doesn't seem like there are too many mobile homes and certainly no new ones in
There's
town,
about
are
a
there?
dozen,
There's about a
in town.
dozen.
And nobody has picked up a piece of land and decided to put a mobile home on it.
Very few.
recently.
Yeah.
Well, I think the land is too expensive in Lyme.
I would agree that is, if you're going to be putting on a manufactured house, you're doing so because of economic reasons. I mean, that's why
Right,
my house was $70,000 when I bought it,
yeah.
Placed on the foundation. A pretty good deal, but,
You're not gonna put it on a $200,000 lot,
well, I did,
did you?
yeah. Well, now it is now.
Well, it is now, but, right, but
Probably,
it.
maybe
it-
not then.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, not then. I paid,
It might be a tear down for
25,000.
the next person then, right?
I paid $25,000 for my lot.
The houses that are getting torn down,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So is there any need for us to do anything with these or just to kind of be
Just
aware of it?
Be aware of it, and, I watch this stuff, and,
Yeah.
if we end up getting something that is contrary to the zoning, I always talk to town council and say, what do we do?
And do our, I don't even know who our reps are right now.
That I can't answer.
Do we ever contact our reps and
You certainly can.
Yeah.
raise a stink
so,
about
I
this?
think, I guess there's two answers to that. One is you are always empowered to talk to your rep.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
As
no,
you-
I understand.
If we were to do it, I think we'd have to come up with a position, we'd have to like have
Yes.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be a board decision.
And say, you know,
But you can also always log in and register comments
right,
as individuals.
As individuals.
Yeah.
right.
I am
If
a
you look
member of
right
the
down
planning
here-
board, but do not speak for the planning board.
Yes, right, so,
Yeah,
so on my
right,
blog,
yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my opinion
That,
only.
that's legal, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, I
Probably
mean,
now anything's legal.
well,
Well, yeah.
because
What is illegal?
Yeah.
Or what is?
Otherwise, you
illegal?
lose your rights as a citizen.
yeah, I mean, but more to the point, it proves some bona fides, that it's like, I am not just some schlunk running my mouth. I've thought about this stuff, and
Right.
these are my opinions, and here's why you might believe me.
Yeah, but I guess we get into the whole thing of, well, is that person speaking for themselves, or are they?
That's why you gotta self-identify.
speaking
Yeah,
for the-
you, yeah, that's right, absolutely,
for the community.
self-identify and,
Yeah. Okay, well,
What worries me the most about the smaller lot sizes is it doesn't talk about, you know, again, go out to the end of Dorchester Road, and if you were to create 2-acre lots out there, you know,
It's a tough road to maintain.
it would be a horrible road to maintain.
And even the people who live there have a hard time with it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and, you know, when they complain heavily when
Mud
Greens is
seasons.
open.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
And-
Green's he shuts it down.
Right, but I'm saying, you know,
People
it's
start
just there,
getting-
and there is a lot more traffic,
Yeah.
and so, you know, add to that.
Well, the logging that's going out there makes it really dangerous. That log truck, there's no way to get by it.
Yep.
It's huge, it's so big, and it's like, oh, am I gonna make it? And, you know, and I don't mind it so much kind of, you know, if he's coming up. But if he's coming down with a full load, and.
He's
it's
not
like,
stopping.
Where,
no,
where are they logging?
At McLaury's,
I don't know where that is.
well, you know where Phil Alder used to live in a little cabin,
Okay.
right out that road, that used to be Black Bog. And, yeah, you can hear it when you go out Black Bog, it's to this west. And it's a lot. I mean, the trucks are going, a truck is going in and out like all day, a couple of loads a day.
wow,
And it's so big.
yeah. Okay, well, is there anything else? If
Would
not,
you entertain a motion?
I would
to
entertain a
adjourn?
motion for us to
So
head out.
moved.
Remove that we adjourn.
So you're gonna be meeting with Scott then
And
to
Tim,
follow
yeah.
up, yeah,
Yep.
and get this clarified, what they feel comfortable with.
Yep,
That's awesome.
David, can you send me, just email me that alternate language?
Yes.